Welcome to Bed Crime Stories podcast. I'm your host, T. How are you guys? I hope you're all having a lovely day. I want to talk to you today once again about the Sebastian Rogers case. So please like, share, subscribe, and if you want to support the work I do, please consider a membership or a Patreon donation. All right, let's dig in. I have so much I want to share with you today that my head is spinning. As much as reporter Nick Barris shared that the Sebastian Rogers case is simply an investigation, not a criminal investigation, I have the receipts that say otherwise. And I have to give credit where credit is due. I discovered this email on the YouTube channel known as Mr. E's Crimecast. They are local to the Tennessee area, and I believe also local to Hendersonville, Tennessee, where Sebastian Rogers lived with his mom and stepfather, Katie and Chris Proudfoot. They shared this email, meaning Mr. E's Crimecast, from Detective Brandon Carter of the Sumner County Police, which clearly states, quote, "We can't tell anybody not to say anything. The only thing I can say is that this is an ongoing criminal investigation. It's the only case I work to present day," end quote. Bam! Do you get the feeling that the Sumner County Police are trying to keep the truth about the case and the investigation on the down low so as to keep Chris and Katie Proudfoot on edge? The Proud feet keep repeating there's zero evidence and that they've been vetted. They want us to believe this. Their modus operandi seems to be keep repeating what you want people to believe and hope that the police will also believe it. Seth Rogers, Sebastian's father, recently said that there is evidence. He made it sound like there's a lot of evidence. And he reportedly speaks to law enforcement every day and is said to be very happy with the investigators right now. Now, Occam's razor tells us that Katie and Chris Proudfoot are the most likely perpetrators. FYI, in case you don't know, Occam's razor is a principle that suggests that the simplest explanation is usually the best one, and I am a firm believer in Occam's razor. Katie was the last person with Sebastian on Sunday, February 25th into Monday, February 26th of 2024. That makes her the number one suspect right out of the gate. And I've learned that Katie and Chris had a lawyer with them when they turned up for those recent interviews with the local news stations in Tennessee to mark the 1-year anniversary of Sebastian's disappearance. Why did they feel the need to have a lawyer with them? Do parents who have nothing to do with their child's disappearance feel the need to come to interviews armed with a lawyer? Remember as well that Katie has not been out in the public eye advocating for Sebastian over the past year. Yes, we saw her in the very beginning, but after that, she almost made a disappearing act like Sebastian as well. We didn't see her, so she let an entire year go by before going on camera to advocate for Sebastian. To me, that is very telling. You'd think she would have been out there each and every day screaming from the rooftops, especially when she admits that there are a lot of people who still don't know about her son and his disappearance. We've also seen Chris and Katie shooting down potential evidence, like those light sources seen around their home on the night Sebastian vanished around the 3 a.m. hour. If they were not involved in the crime, in my opinion, they would be a lot more curious about those light sources. They wouldn't shoot it down and say that they're garbage trucks when everybody knows they are not garbage trucks. I feel like Chris and Katie don't realize how they're perceived when they act in this way. So again, Occam's razor would tell us that the simplest explanation is that Katie may have been part of a plan to make Sebastian go poof in the night. This is me speculating using Occam's razor. By the way, that incredibly fun day that she gave Sebastian, the one where he had homemade pancakes, he spoke with relatives, he visited with other relatives, he went to a store called BJ's to sample the food and eat some popcorn, he went bowling, although I guess he didn't actually go bowling because there was some sort of league thing going on, so he ended up playing games there instead, and then he enjoyed a special salmon dinner at the Texas Roadhouse restaurant. All of those activities would have left him exhausted, in my opinion. Would Katie have had a reason to want Sebastian to be tuckered out at the end of that day? I would say yes, if she indeed was part of a plan to make him disappear that night. It's easier to control someone who is so tired they can barely stand up and or think straight. Again, pure speculation on my part. Neither Katie nor Chris Proudfoot have been charged in connection to Sebastian's disappearing act. On Tuesday, February 27th of 2024, the TBI issued an Amber Alert around 3:25 p.m. for 15-year-old Sebastian. Officials said at the time that the decision to upgrade a missing persons alert to an Amber Alert was, quote, based on additional investigative information developed during the search, end quote. Amber Alerts are activated only in the most serious child abduction cases. So what do you think the police were thinking about Sebastian at that point? And what investigative information did they develop during the initial searches? 2 to 3 days after Sebastian was reported missing, the district attorney became involved, which hints to law enforcement believing that this would be a case that they would prosecute in the future. Now, on Thursday, March 7th of 2024, investigators went to White Plains, Kentucky to search a landfill. That's where trash from Sebastian's neighborhood goes. What do you think law enforcement was thinking at that point? We also know that the police, as well as Katie and Chris Proudfoot, were asking their neighbors for their security camera footage from that night. Apparently, all but one neighbor shared their footage. What I'm about to share with you is based on what several locals allegedly were told by trustworthy sources, including, reportedly, some law enforcement officials. These are rumors at this point, but when more than one person hears pretty much the same rumor, you have to at least consider it. And I'll tell you guys, true crime creators worth their salt look first to the facts of a case, and then they use these to catapult themselves into the realm of logical speculation. Because we're not detectives with access to the actual evidence, all we have are the public released facts and then our ability to put the pieces of the puzzle together in order to speculate. This is what we offer that mainstream media typically does not. So let's go back to the rumors. The neighbor whose yard backs up to the Proudfoot's backyard is said to be a part-time member of the Sumner County PD. This person allegedly has multiple security cameras. Per the rumor mill, this person is the one neighbor who did not share his security camera footage with the police. If that's true, it's a big red flag. He's law enforcement, so he should be doing everything he can to help with the investigation. This person allegedly claimed that the only thing on his security camera footage from that night was an animal. This is allegedly why he did not bother to share his footage. But there's more. The rumor is, and again, it's just a rumor, that this person may have had a close personal relationship with Katie Proudfoot. I have to give credit where credit is due. I heard Chris of the mob crew sort of describe this like this. Chris Proudfoot is away from home a lot for work. Wink, wink. Okay, Chris did not say wink, wink, that's my contribution. But Katie allegedly spent time with this part-time member of the local police department, a male. This is unverified, it's just a rumor. If all of those rumors are true, then this backyard neighbor may have had another reason for not wanting to share his camera footage from the hours when Sebastian vanished. Now, the story goes on to say that at the vigil that was held for Sebastian on the night of Tuesday, February 27th, 2024, so that would have been the day after he was reported missing, this vigil took place at the Beach High School, and it was just for the Proudfoot's neighbors. This same part-time LE neighbor apparently turned up there after he'd looked at security camera footage or some evidence at the police command center, and he was overheard saying at the vigil, allegedly, "Oh, it's bad. It's so, so bad," end quote. He said that in regard to whatever he had seen at the command center. Now, per the rumor, this man then had a bit of an emotional meltdown, maybe some tears, and he left the vigil. Note that Katie and Chris Proudfoot were not at the vigil. Surprise, surprise. But they did send one of their aunts to represent the family. Seth Rogers, he was in attendance. So I'm wondering if he can verify if this was really said by this part-time law enforcement person. I'm assuming that Seth would have either heard it directly from this guy or he would have heard from someone else who had heard the guy. Now, both Chris of the mob crew, who has some local contacts, and the lady named Jay, who runs Crime Time Buzz, say that they heard this rumor. And in my opinion, where there's smoke, there's usually fire. I feel like the narrator on Bridgerton today. I'm going to be sharing what the local police allegedly know about Sebastian's disappearance as told by Jay of Crime Time Buzz. This story, by the way, incorporates those mysterious light sources that were captured on security camera footage outside the Proudfoot home around the 3 a.m. witching hour on Monday, February 26, 2024, as well as the mysterious sedan believed to be a Nissan Altima that pulled into the Proudfoot's neighborhood around 3:12 a.m. on the morning Sebastian vanished. That Nissan drove up and down Kellen Lane and then stopped near Stafford Court, which is where Sebastian lived before he went missing. By the way, one of Chris Proudfoot's relatives is rumored to drive a Nissan Altima. The footage I'm about to share is from Chris of the mob crew, and it includes audio from Jay of Crime Time Buzz. Both Chris and Jay say they have contacts who are local, as I said earlier. You'll also hear Jay mention another channel that is local to Hendersonville, Tennessee, and that is Mr. E's Crimecast. So they also claim to have local contacts. That makes 3 different YouTube hosts talking about what they heard from their local contacts, some of whom are said to be in law enforcement. Take a listen.
They knew the sedan had pulled up. They knew Sebastian did not walk out of the home on his own. They knew Sebastian had been removed from the home. They knew it was not a stranger, and I know this to be true. because locals have told me they were told it wasn't a stranger, that they didn't have to be feared. But not all of the public was told that, my friends. Just
Now, the stranger part, I have not heard that. Not discrediting Jay from Crime Time Buzz. Again, I think we have some same sources, and then I think she has some of her sources. So, but again, a lot of what she says is stuff that I heard, and I've sat on because I respect the people that told me that, and that was kind of something they didn't want at least at that time. They didn't know if they could share that kind of stuff, but right now it's out there, so I figured I can elaborate on that.
little pieces from people who heard. Okay, they knew this. So when Mr. and Mrs. E released the other night that local officials, elected officials, detectives are telling them that they know what happened to Sebastian and who's responsible, I totally believe them, because I've heard the same thing. Okay. Command post chatter. That was settling a home on his own. They knew Sebastian had been removed from the home. They knew it was not a stranger. And I know this to be true because locals have told me they were told it wasn't a stranger, that they didn't have to be feared. But not all of the public was told that, my friends. Just little pieces from people who, heard. Okay. They knew this. So when Mr. and Mrs. E released the other night that local officials, elected officials, detectives are telling them that they know what happened to Sebastian and who's responsible, I totally believe them, because I the same thing. Okay. Command post chatter. Also was said that they're going to have a hard time bringing him home, if they will be able to. I don't know what that means, but it scares me. That was said within the first several days by an agent. Okay. That concerns me. What does that mean to you? Well, we're not going to be able to bring him home. We have, in my opinion, a dirty housing industry right in town. Okay. We have lots of things that have been going on. It's a criminal investigation. DAs prosecute. They brought him in third day because they knew they were going to have a case to investigate, execute, and two from day one or day 2 or 3 from looking at the footage at the command post.
And this is something I've heard, and I don't know if I've talked about this, because this was, like I said, when I was told this was kind of something that was, at least back then, months ago, I wasn't allowed, they didn't really want me talking about this part.
Okay. That it was not a stranger. And that he did not leave on his own. He was removed. Also, the neighbor who lives behind them. I guess it's time I tell you this. February 27th, the first vigil at Beach High School.
And this is very, I'm sure if you guys have heard her video, then you know what I'm going to be talking about. This is very interesting. I'd love to see what you guys say about this, because this was something that was one of the first things I heard, well, along with what she's saying here, but this was like the big one that, like, I've sat on for months. And yeah, this was very odd. So they hold a vigil. And remember, for those that don't know, I think it was at the beach school, high school, or whatever. And it was kind of for the neighborhood, right? It was just for the, just people there. And, of course, the Proudfoot family was invited, even though I think they, one of them said, no, we didn't get the invite, but they said, yes, there's proof that, they did extend a, invitation, because they had a, their own neighborhood Facebook group. Keep that in mind, because we'll come back to that. Forget, there was one more thing I was going to say about that. Let me play this and I'll remember.
And when I say the neighbor, I'm talking about the one with LE experience, allegedly connected to AP. Allegedly. Okay. And he was at the vigil, the first vigil done at Beach Creek High School on Tuesday, February 27th. Seth was there. The Proudfoots were not there. They allegedly sent a representative, an aunt. Okay. But he was heard saying Oh, it's bad. It's so, so bad. Bowed his head, tears, and left the vigil. A grown man with LE experience. And that terrifies me because what was it that he saw?
Okay, let me back that up one more time so you guys, just in case if you guys haven't heard this, because this I've heard. I would say, like I said, take a lot of this with a grain of salt. For those that have been with my channel, you guys know I like to stick with the facts and stuff. We do speculate, but this is something I would bet the farm on happened more likely happened than not, because I think there was obviously there was multiple people there at that vigil, and this guy, like what he did, it stuck out, and it was very odd.
Okay. And he was at the vigil, the first vigil done at Beech Creek High School on Tuesday, February 27th. Seth was there. The Proudfoots were not there. They allegedly sent a representative, an aunt. Okay. But he was heard saying, oh, it's bad. It's so, so bad. Bowed his head.
Straight up quote, heard it. That's the exact same thing I heard a long time ago. This was pretty well known, secretly, because they just weren't sure, especially since he was obviously law enforcement. So it was kind of weird. We originally, at least my thoughts were like, okay, so he went to the command center. He had seen probably some of the footage, and then went to the vigil, and kind of had a meltdown, which is kind of odd because you'd think, he is law enforcement, and I don't know if he's newer or something, but you would think they're kind of desensitized to that kind of stuff. Not saying, like, I don't know if that's the right word, but you know what I mean? Like, it just kind of seems odd. Like, what did, was this for show, or is this guilt? Because maybe, again, I don't know if.
Did you hear Jay say that? 1, they knew Sebastian had been removed from the home. 2, they knew Sebastian did not walk out of the home, which implies he was carried out. That could mean he was alive and well. It could also mean he was knocked out by some type of medication, or it could mean something much worse. And could whatever led him to be in that state have occurred when there was the thud in the Proudfoot home around 10 p.m., at least according to Katie Proudfoot. I do believe a thud was heard that night in the home. I think that Katie knows exactly what the thud is from. Now, the third thing Jay said was they knew whoever took Sebastian out of the house was not a stranger. Jay said that law enforcement told some locals so that they wouldn't worry that there was some sort of perpetrator out there lurking in the shadows.
One, at this point, really still wonder who the parties are that are responsible for the disappearance of Sebastian. And I haven't really had any questions about this for a while. Exactly who did what is the tougher part of the question, but the who's responsible, the who has the guilty knowledge, at least the core people, is to me pretty easy to answer. And it's not even really, in a way, this isn't even our opinion. We are locals. We've been here a long time. We even before we were living here, we had tons of connections here. We've had people in law enforcement in various parts of government here locally that we know, even before we were doing our podcast, for the last year, have been telling us all consistently the same thing. And we've heard it from day one up to present. It's never changed. And that's that Sumner County knows exactly who's responsible for Sebastian's disappearance. They're just trying to prove it. And that message has never changed. These are good sources. So it's not my opinion telling you that it's inside the home, that it's the Proudfoot family, that's the leading suspects here.
In your opinion.
Not my opinion. This is what I'm told.
Right.
That's not true. An opinion. That's a fact. I've been told this. So multiple times through multiple sources, and good sources that have been accurate on other things we've been told.
Right.
And so I'm just reporting at this point. I'm just telling you that's what everything has been told to us from very good sources. And some of them are law enforcement sources.
Did you hear Mr. E say he was told by multiple good sources, including some from law enforcement, that the authorities know who made Sebastian vanish? And that would be Katie and Chris Proudfoot. Again, these are rumors, but these are local rumors, and people are saying that they heard them or they heard this information from law enforcement officials. Allegedly. Let me know what you think in the comments. I will see you next time on Bed Crime Stories. Please like, share, and subscribe. Again, get your friends, your family, everybody to subscribe. I really want to grow the channel.